Hi guys, and welcome to this week's Office Hours with me, Chris Baines.
Hi, I'm Nick Butcher.
Rich Hyman.
We're frozen. There we go. I'm Rich Hyman. Hey, all from London.
As usual, we'll be talking about the latest and greatest in Android from the past week, as well as and answering questions from the moderator and in the Hangout. Should we say hello to the guys in the Hangout? Hi, Viva.
Hi. Good evening. Good day.
There we go. Good evening. Where are you? Who else have we got? Ali and Winky Warm.
Hello.
And Giuseppe. Hey there, guys. Thank you for joining us today. Thanks, Giuseppe. As usual, we won't be answering those questions that are asking about product releases, roadmaps, future-facing, but we will be talking about Android developer topics. I'm just opening up the moderator here on my Nexus 10.
Yeah, should we get kicked off with some moderator
Let's
questions?
put our matching back covers this time. Nick's the only one who's outstanding.
Someone asked me on Twitter the other day what the covers were.
Oh, yeah, because you can't buy them in the UK, right?
Yeah.
You can't buy them in the UK. That is a shame. Yeah, apologies for missing last week's office hours. We were all travelling, but we are back now, and we'll try and keep our regular schedule going forward.
Has anyone got a question? Lined up?
All right. Yeah. Let's start with the first question. How to beat crash on a device rotation when Allo dialog is opened on the screen with spinner in it open as well? Ask from Mike in Sydney. Okay.
What was the question? How to?
Yes.
Oh, you've got two answers there already.
Yeah. You have. Yeah.
This is
He has
dialogue
a.
issue, right?
He makes a configuration change, and the Allo dialog is open on the screen, and a spinner is open in it as well. And if he returns to the screen, he gets a crash.
I guess by spinner he means progress dialogue.
I guess. Yes. So let's check
sorry,
his
yeah.
code snippet.
We have a code snippet.
Yeah, he posted a code snippet, I guess. Oh. So in general,
Great stuff.
if you have a dialog, you should think about maybe using a dialog fragment and not using the Allo dialog. This would maybe solve some of your issues. And if you use the dialog, I'm just wondering, are you using the method on the Android lifecycle to create the dialog and let the system manage it for you, or do you manage the dialog on your own? So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't say what the crash is, so it could be many things. The best way to do it is probably to handle it yourself in unsaved instance. I can't remember the method's called, but in the sort of unsave and restore state methods called on your activity, probably best to handle it there yourself. So yeah, I haven't really got anything else. The crash could be many things, so without more information, it's hard to say what the actual cause is.
Right.
Okay, should we move on? So Lucas in Brazil has asked, why has Cursor Loader not have a param of limit? Is it best to put it on as an append query parameter in the URI? I had a look at the source for Cursor Loader earlier, and the reason is that content resolver.query doesn't have any sort of limit param itself, and Cursor Loader is basically a wrapper around content resolver.query with threading. So that's the reason, really. If you want to have a limit parameter, you have to do it yourself as a query string on URI. So yeah, answer the question.
Excellent. Welcome to the other people who have just joined us in the Hangout today. Lucas and Brendan, good to see you both. Hey.
Oh, is that Lucas? The question I just...
No.
No.
Where are we now?
Do we have any questions from the Hangout?
Yes.
Hey.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. So I just asked that in public on Google Plus, but I wonder if you have some specific tip. So as you probably heard, I'm working on this custom adapter view, two-way view, and I'm now adding accessibility support to it, and so it works in the same fashion than list view and grid view. So in each layout pass, what it does is it has to detach all the existing views in order to do all the view recycling stuff. List view does the same thing. But so in order to handle focus when we do the relayout. For input focus, there are like public APIs that make this very simple to implement. You have get focus child, save that, recycle everything, and then you restore the focus wherever it was, if it makes sense to do so. But for accessibility focus, which is something more recent in the platform, as far as I know, I mean, I couldn't find any public API to do things like to query the system or on things like where's the accessibility focus now, and things like do I have the accessibility focus, any of my children has it, and if I do have, then I want to know the accessibility node info on it or the host view for the accessibility focus. So do you guys know of any public API to handle these things? Because it seems that ListView and GridView, they're only using private APIs. That makes it very convenient to do these things.
Right.
I know the support library has a lot of accessibility. Well, it doesn't have a lot. It has a couple of classes in there which have support versions of it, sort of being able to query accessibility service and also being able to send accessibility events. I haven't played with it much myself, so I can't really say a definitive whether it's going to help you or not. But have a look.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah, have a look at the docs. It's UI/accessibility/services.html, and this basically summarizes the API there. But I haven't worked with it either. So I use some of the attributes, but yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. I'm kind of assuming that the reason it's not public yet is just that you want it to mature a bit before exposing it to everyone. Because there are things that look very good candidates for a public API in the private API. I mean, there are things like request accessibility focus on the view class.
Right.
So this thing would be very convenient for like if you're dealing with things like view recycling and stuff like that. But and also things like you can query the host view holding the accessibility focus at any point. But that's using very private stuff there. So
Are they public methods with the hidden annotation?
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So this is why I'm assuming it's just like cooking like a bit more before exposing.
I think you're right. You have to be very careful what you
We
put
don't
out
know.
there. So, but
Yeah, I can
might
understand
come
that. It's just that like for now pretty much. So the reason I'm asking is also because it seems that the whole adaptive view framework is not really meant to be extended at all. Like I have to like replicate a lot of stuff that is in the parent classes a lot of times, and it's really inconvenient. So it would be
Yeah, it's
really
definitely
nice
worth
to
checking
retain
out
the whole thing.
the support library, as Chris says. It's got some accessibility delegate methods in there, and sending and receiving of accessibility events as well. I hadn't noticed it myself. So what happens at the moment if you put the device into accessibility mode? Does your list swipe when you've got when you use two fingers?
So yeah, I implemented the whole accessibility action bits, which is fine. So this is all done. This is all working fine. What the problem, like this specific problem I'm talking about, is when you scroll and you recycle views, you're going to lose the accessibility focus if one of the children had it. So it will pretty much reset the accessibility focus to nowhere every time you scroll, pretty much.
Yeah, it'd be good if you put that on a Stack Overflow and ping us a link as well. Find some more details on it.
Okay. Yeah, I linked the post on Google Plus to what I think is some of the guys working on accessibility on Android. So hopefully they will like have a look.
I'll look for the post. I can refer it to them internally. I know they're always interested in actual implementations of accessibility. So
yeah, I'm kind of assuming it's just because it's recent API, so it's still like trying things out a bit in private first. So yeah, I can understand that.
Cool. Good question. Thank you very much. What have we got next? I'm going to make some notes.
okay. The next question is on how to achieve drop shadow for views without using a 9 patch. Asked from David in Vienna. And yeah, I think you should really think about the reason why you need this, because the 9 patch is probably the best you can do. Also, I think also in terms of performance, right? And yeah, Chris suggested to disable the hardware acceleration on the view and use a shadow layer.
Yeah, I mean, who was it? David. So you mentioned that it doesn't work with hardware acceleration, and that there's a reason why that was done. You can set the layer type back to software, so a software layer. So you just disable hardware acceleration, and it should work again. But 9 patch is probably the way I'd go, with a transparent middle, so you're not getting any overdraw. So yeah, if you really do need the drop shadow, then those are the 2 sort of main options you've got, really. Cheers for the question. Who's got a question?
No, but the one-man moderator machine, Andrew Kelly, has pointed out that the video stream may not be working in the YouTube player right now. Oh, there we go. We can ask him as soon as he joins in. Maybe you can put it in the chat window if you've not got a microphone, Andrew. Did you get the YouTube window working? Sure, that'll come through.
He did ask another question, actually.
You got a question from him in the moderator?
Yeah, there's 2. He's asked, any thoughts on why a home screen shortcut would remove when your app is upgraded? The install location is set to internal only.
Yeah, there's a good blog post on the blog called Things That Cannot Change. It sounds like you've changed one of them. So basically what normally happens if you've perhaps changed your package structure, you know, if you've moved your home activity to like a subfolder or something like that, then, you know, these things can't change because that's a component identifier. You know, desktop shortcut basically is a link to a specific intent filter, and so if you change that, then the shortcut will stop working. What you can do is create an activity alias at the old location, which basically will forward you onto the new location. So that's good practice if you are going to do this kind of refactoring, so that you don't break anyone's home screen shortcuts. But yeah, if you look on the Android developers blog, it's android-developers.blogspot.com. There's a post called "Things That Cannot Change" by Diane Hackborn. So check that out.
Good answer.
Can I ask a question?
Hey, of course.
Thanks. Well, I use an XML selector to manage different button state and source image, okay?
Which XML selector?
Selector in XML.
Okay.
Okay. When from the activity I use the set image resource, and then I call the XML selector, okay? The system image resource taking care about the memory, the download the bitmap from memory, etc., or I have to take care in myself about the bitmaps?
No, the system will take care. You're talking about all the different image states that you're going to have on the button.
No. Sorry, I will explain again. I have an XML with selectors inside, okay? With pashed, preset, focused, okay?
Yeah.
Each selection have a different image.
Yeah. This is
the same image view. I change the XML selector using set image resource at runtime.
Okay. On
some specific device, I am experiencing out of memory.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the set image resource is taking care about the destroying of the old image or not.
I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure when you load the drawable, it will load all of its child drawables at the same time. So you will have a bitmap which, well, no, you had drawable, which will have X number of bitmaps based on the states.
Correct.
So there is no real way of, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think there's any provided way of you to recycle those images. Have you done some tracing on where the memory's going?
Yes.
And
it's like when I change the resource, the image that was loading before didn't unload. Keeping the memory.
Are you changing the resource a lot? This must be pretty hefty, right?
Yes, because this is connected with a button that is pressed many times on the screen.
And every time you press it, you change.
Totally, there are four image in the
XML.
In XML, and another 4 image in the another XML. So using the set image resource, I switch to the 2 different XML files.
Huh.
And you can see when you switch, you can see memory going up and up and up.
Yeah, up. Yes, correct.
Well,
So,
as a worker,
I was going to say a cleaner way might be to, instead of switching the resource yourself, why don't you define your own custom states? Because then you can have different drawables in your stateless drawable reacting to your own custom states as well as the Android states.
or you could have 2 buttons.
What platform is this on? So what version?
What version? No, I
yeah,
experienced this on 404,
On
or 404 and 236.
So that's interesting because
And all the devices that send the out of memory report, I saw that they are anytime signed like others. Others device. You know, when in the panel you have others device, there are no specific name like I don't know, Nexus or etc.
It's interesting because I would have thought that the drawables are loaded with impurgeable in input shareable, so that if they aren't being used, they'll get purged straight away by the system. But that was added in Froyo. It's about 2.2, 2.3. So honestly, I don't really know. It sounds like a bit of a rubbish bug to have.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly nothing stated about you having to clean it up, and I don't think we provide any methods for you to clean it up yourself.
No. You can go for the drawables, like
In the last documentation, the set.
Oh, Giuseppe's gone.
Giuseppe?
Now we've lost him. He's gone. Frozen.
Interesting. Oh, no.
No, he's still there.
The set image drawable or set image bitmap don't work because I need a different state for the same image view.
So, what are you saying? So you're using set image resource instead?
Yes.
It's stateless drawable.
You can crack them yourself.
You could create a draw. Yeah, I was gonna say you could encode create a stateless drawable and use set image drawable. Or you could define custom states and just use a single button. So I think it might be doing this set repeatedly, which is your problem.
Do you mean to create a custom state, so take trace on each change of the?
Yeah, so if you're doing like a play pause button, you could have a state saying playing, and that could be a Boolean selector like true or false. And so that when you do your stateless drawable, the different states you react to, one of those could be playing, as well as the Android _focused _pressed and stuff like that. So you can provide your own states as well as using custom states. In fact, Lucas, I think one of your colleagues on Firefox did a good blog post about how to do this, right? Did you happen to know the blog? I can't remember the.
I can link that on the chat.
That was awesome. Yeah, about how to define your states. I saw that the other day. But yeah, it sounds like an issue.
Okay. It does sound like an issue. Should we raise the bug as well?
Hello.
Hello? What's that?
I was there a couple of weeks ago. I'm the one with the white web view problems.
Hi.
So you suggested disabling the hardware acceleration, and I did that, and it changed nothing.
You disabled it for the whole application?
Sorry?
You disabled it for the whole application?
I can't understand you. I'm sorry. I'm not a native speaker.
Okay.
Did you disable hardware acceleration for your whole application in a manifest.
Yes, I did.
So not only for the web view.
Not only for the web view, for the whole application.
Okay.
And what are you seeing?
Can you restate the issue? Because I can't remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it the question in the moderator?
Yes, it's one of the questions. It's the one with the Stack Overflow link.
Okay, yeah. So I put an answer in saying it sounds like a HTML issue. So, I mean, have you tried running that web page in the normal Chrome app or the browser app?
Well, I tested it with the World Wide Web Consortium validation, and it's valid HTML. I don't have Chrome on my mobile phone because it's too old. But actually, I didn't try with the browser. The fact is that usually it works. It starts being white after a while. If I reboot my phone, it starts working again. So I suspect it's something else, not the HTML, which is correct. It's a simple table, nothing fancy.
Okay.
And this happens in the Android browser, and you're not able to test on Chrome.
No, I'm not able to test on Chrome, and it's happening in a web view. I didn't really test on the browser. It's strange.
What are you doing? Are you running some JavaScript, or is it just Markup?
I'm running some JavaScript, which I didn't write. It's to render MathML. So, and the strange thing is that I only get problems on Android 4. On Android 2, no problems. Never, no one ever reported any problem. On Android 4, I get this problem.
Yeah, I remember. That's why we thought it might be hardware acceleration related.
Yeah. Are you using CSS rotations? Not directly. My JavaScript code can, because I didn't write the JavaScript code to render math. I just copied it from somewhere on the internet. I had a problem with those. I'll investigate, but no, it's not a problem with CSS rotations because my guide first page has no CSS rotations. So no.
We might have to skip that one though. I don't have an answer for you. It would require a bit of debugging and playing with the HTML and the code. I haven't heard of this problem before with the web views going blank. We use them in a lot of applications all the time, and we see them in a lot of applications. And I've not seen them ever just appearing blank on.
And the links are working. That's the really strange thing. If I click on the link, it takes me to another white page, but I have to click to push the back button once more. So the link is actually working, the anchors. And I don't know.
No, I don't know why either. Sorry. Unless you're making use of a feature of version 4 web.
You might should try out get a phone which runs Chrome, because then you can have the remote debugging, and so you can. I mean, you said you did not write a JavaScript, but you could still use remote debugging to go through step by step through the JavaScript, and you might find the point where it's where the problem starts. But I think we have no answer for you right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
well,
playing with the
I look into this JavaScript code because actually I didn't write it, so it might be a problem.
Okay. Let's shift. Thanks for the question again. Sorry we couldn't help you.
Thank you.
Sounds quite specific to your application.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Anyone got any favourite questions to follow up with?
So there's a question here from Andrew Kelly about setting the window background to null in his theme to reduce overdraw. And yeah, you're asking what basically is that advised to do? And you can do it, but you have to be extremely careful. Basically, if you're setting the window background to null, you have to ensure that everything you draw on screen has a background on it. You know, if there is any component, you know, like we were talking about this earlier, like action bar tabs and so on, which have a null background, a transparent background, then you're going to get unexpected behavior. So while you can set the window background to null if you know what you're doing, I'd advise you to actually use the window background as the base color, and and remove backgrounds from things on top of it if you can. Another thing to be aware of is that when you're launching your activity for the first time, in order to get a very snappy performance to have the app launch, Android does an optimization where it will actually take the background color of your window and your action bar and animate those opening, and then draw your app on top of that to give this faster response time. It's kind of an optimization or trick. So if you're setting a null background in your theme, then we won't be able to do that, so you will get this kind of slightly worse behavior. So for that reason, I advise you to set a background color in your window if you can, and reduce the overdraw on top of the background where you can. So, by removing backgrounds on the views within the layout. That's my advice.
Yeah.
There's another question from Andrew Kelly regarding Windows Soft Input Mode. He basically has the problem that there's some problem on HTC devices, and you're asking for advice on what is the best way to handle those issues with manufacturer or having problems on different devices. Yeah, I think there's no easy way or no best practice to do it. What I did in the past, what I was using a factory, I had this one object, and I was querying it, and it would return me an object, and I had methods on that object. In your case, it would be set Windows Soft Input Mode or something, and so you could only query the factory and use this one object, and just call one method on object. So if you have different vendors, this is pretty handy, but it's still only a workaround. So there's really no solution for these kinds of problems, and they're hard to find and hard to tackle. So, but I would use a factory to do it.
So one thing I've got to say about this is try not to add checks for vendor or models or anything like that. Try and do it generically. So for this example, it's about the keyboard being open. So I think I'll give you an example where you can try and sort of set the flag to have state visible on the IME options. And then in your on resume or maybe a bit later, check if the keyboard is open. If it's not, then force it open as you would on a HTC.
Yeah.
So just try and keep it generic and not add any sort of string checks or anything like that, because it's more plausible.
Yeah, right. Never do it. Only do it if there's no other way around it. So.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Do we have a question in the Hangout?
Yeah, I actually got a question.
Final question.
Yeah. First of all, Stefan, your T-shirt rocks.
Yeah, I know.
I got a question about a spinner. Yesterday, for the first time, I found myself having to use a spinner and finding out if I selected something that has already been selected. What I figured out is that the on item selected of the on item selected listener doesn't get triggered if you reselect an already selected item. I did solve it by making my own spinner and overriding the set selection method, but I'm just wondering if that's the way to go, or if you have some other advice on how to achieve this.
Why do you need this? Because if for a spinner, the selected item will be at the top anyway.
Do you? What's your use case? Do you want to refresh or?
Well, in our situation, I have some columns, and I want to sort those columns that are defined in the spinner. And if I select the same item again, I want it to sort ascending or descending, whatever it was before, sort of thing.
I think it works the way it should work, because obviously in your case, yeah, I don't even think that it's. I think it's a UI problem. You should maybe think about adding a different button or a different spinner to do the order, or rethink your interaction, because I think generally it's a bad thing. And I also would say it's not behavior you would expect to change the order by clicking again on the item. So that's just my side of things.
One way you could do this is use the standard spinner, but in your spinner listener, so in your on item selected listener, after you've done your sorting or whatever, you then call spinner.set items selected item or select position back to 0 or -1, just so your item isn't selected again. So you reset the selection.
Or you could, is this going to be an action bar item for sorting?
At this point in time, it's just a plain spinner.
Okay, I was going to say you could look at using, well, it still work actually. You look at using a pop-up menu rather than the spinner, then you have full control over it all. That's a pretty common way of presenting these options, just using the overflow menu in the action bar, the pop-up menu that will pop down from there.
All right. Thanks, guys.
You're welcome.
All right, cheers, guys. With that, we are out of time again for this week's office hours.
Yes.
Yes. Too enthusiastic on the yes there. But thanks all for joining us. And I'll look for that post on G+. Lucas, good to have you here today, and everyone else who joined us in the Hangout. Thanks very much.
All right. See you around.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.